flush that Timbers game down the drain. When Zack Steffen's between the pipes, the Rapids cannot lose. The fellas give their flowers 6 games into the season. We talk about the USMNT's latest crisis, a little update on the NWSL, and a whole lot more starting now. Good morning, everyone. Live from downtown Denver in our studios above the DNVR bar on Colfax and York from the Toyota Lounge. Of course, Toyota, the official automotive partner of DNVR, the official vehicle of DNVR Rapids. What a glorious day, Dwayne. Must be the sun out. Yeah,
majestic.
I feel so damn good. I've just been excited to do this all morning. Just thinking to myself, you know, usually my inner dialogue's like, this is the worst. Like, I don't want to do this today. Today, I'm just like, this is the best.
Not today.
Cannot wait.
Not today.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. So much to get into. It's crazy now that we're doing this just every other week. It feels like there are infinite topics to get into. So before I start blabbing too much, come one, come all in the Toyota chat. Leave us a thumbs up. That would be so much appreciated. I am joined, of course, by the man, the myth, the legend, downtown Dwayne Brown.
I'm so excited to be here.
And making this all possible is our guy, Riley Sorbo, behind the stick. Super producer Yaya off doing some super producing undercover work in his private life.
It's true. We can't even talk about it.
We really can't. We really can't. So blessings to you, Yaya. May Rapid Man shine his light on all of us. And yeah, so how about them Rapids, Dwayne?
How about them?
We, if you missed the little midweek pod we had with Devin Kerr, that was lots of fun. Some great insights on the former college youngins on the Pids, and kind of some good analysis on 5 games in.
He was awesome.
He was.
We're going to have him back.
Was. Yes, he was fantastic. That man is on his stuff. He's watching as much soccer stateside as anyone, I think. So we were able to recap that Portland game, which, like, what an anomaly. Just all around. But the Rapids flushed that immediately. Take down the Charlotte. What are they?
Just Charlotte FC.
Right. I'm laughing because all I could think of is their CLIT abbreviation. So Rapids took down the CLIT. I don't know that I should be saying that 3 minutes into the show. But yeah, they were second in the East and pretty thoroughly dominated. Had the Rapids impose their will.
Yes.
Like a strong current, Dwayne.
Like a mighty current.
Yes.
I was a little worried. I mean, I still predicted a Rapids win. I just felt like it was a bounce back game. It was going to happen. But Charlotte has been tearing it up on the East Coast.
Hell yeah.
But one thing I was noticing about Charlotte going into that game is that kind of similar to the Rapids is they don't score a lot of goals lately. And so when I look at Zack Steffen coming back, when I look at Cheeto and Maxu in the middle, I was like, well, I'm not sure you're going to score at all. Maybe one, I'll give you that. And that's kind of what we saw. We saw a team that is really known for their defense, which they have a great defense, but has been, this year has really been looking more of not so much goals being scored, but a more high-powered, a more creative offense coming into it. And the Rapids just shut it down. I mean, they just... I was shocked at how one-sided this game was, like especially in the first half. Like
I was too.
I thought there were going to be worrisome moments. I was worried about, the Rapids, trademarked end of first half goal getting slipped in, but they really just, they dominated them right from the whistle. And I don't know what you can say other than that, other than like, I thought the Rapids would win. I was not expecting it to be so one-sided.
100%. I think that's really, really well put. I think, Armis Ball came in with a certain reputation. I think mostly lived up to that reputation last season. I didn't expect them to start having performances like this, where you're kind of outclassing, out-tacticaling, out-possessioning, just like in all. And on top of the things you would expect, outworking, out-hustling.
Sure.
This was a top-of-the-table team type of performance.
Yeah.
Like, we know what we're doing. We're going to out-team you. We're going to outplay you. And the goals will come. We'll find a way. And guess what? We also you have Wilfried Zaha? Cool. Check out the guy we've got who's our star player, because he's about to put you in a body bag,
Turns out crying to the ref nonstop doesn't really help you.
I mean, the Pids DPs out-DP'd their DPs.
Yep.
Like, not even close. So that's where I think we are entering some slightly rarefied air in Rapids soccer right now, because some of these guys are doing stuff that is not what we've been accustomed to the last 10, 15, 20 years for guys on this club.
For sure.
So no better way to segue into, what do we call it?
Flowers
from
the fellas.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, Kevin gets it. Also, when you were talking about your game prediction, I almost said you predicted the Rapids to win because you're not a hoe, which is a shout out to Kevin's commentary on Yaya's predictions on Twitter.
Kevin, always on Twitter,
which I love so much, much like the comment here in the Toyota chat. Bless you, Kevin. You clearly are walking with Rapid Man shining his light from above on you. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, flowers from the fellas. That is an all-time graphic. So great. Really, really makes me think of the old country, like I got married in my dad's hometown in Tuscany, and that's very much the vibe of the flower shop that we got our flowers from, where I'm trying to translate for Kate, and eventually Kate just had to step in, because even if I speak Italian, it's like flowers is like, you might as well try, as a non-native speaker. So yeah, flowers from the fellas. You want to start?
Are we doing like for the season so far, or just the
6 games into the
6 games
season?
in. Okay.
And if you want to include some Champions Cup, it's kind of our early season flowers, right? This used to be a post-game segment. Obviously, we're not doing post-games every game anymore. So we're doing this as a way to kind of recap where we've been a month-ish plus into the year.
I'm going to go with who I think... And this is looking at MLS games. I'm not right. I'm over Champions Cup. I've moved on. Glad it's over. Now we can focus on MLS. Who I think has been I want to say undercover MVP, but people are paying attention, and I think people see it.
It's just MVP?
The Streets MVP.
Flowers from the Burgundy Streets?
That's where it's coming from. It's Ali Larraz. Ali Larraz has been flat out one of the most consistent, full-on, dependable players on this team. He has not had a game off. He is always there. It doesn't matter if the game is going south. The dude's still got that dog, and he's still playing the physical game. Every year, I feel like every time they show him, I'm like, dang, Ollie got bigger. Like, you know, it's just like he's physically becoming an imposing guy in that midfield. You know, I don't know what to say about Ollie other than he's always consistently showing up. He's always whistle to whistle, like full in. You know, he's playing the physicality that we need when we need that grittiness, because, you know, the whole story has been in the offseason leading into now is we need our defense to happen earlier and to react quicker. And that takes physicality to be able to do that in the midfield, especially to break up those transitions from the other team. Ollie is always in there. He's playing, you know, jumping back into the offense and getting up and pushing balls up to the final third. Everything we can ask from him, he's been pretty consistent on. I'm not saying he's been perfect, but he's been damn good over these first 6 games.
100%. It's a great call out. 2 things I'd add is I think most good teams, maybe even great teams, often have a player on the field that exemplifies the values their coach wants them to play under. And it's something you said in the preseason. Like, he is like Chris, the embodiment of Chris Armas and what the values he wants from this squad in his starting 11. And then the last couple games, especially last game, I think he's starting to find a little more comfort with Atencio in that midfield, where he knows, okay, Josh has got me, so I can be a little more on ball, you know? I can get a little more creative. I can fancy a run forward or being part of that final third build up a little more.
Sure.
And those guys figuring out that partnership, forget it, man. And I'm seeing Cole work off of them as well. That 3-man midfield starts to really find their groove, starts to really click. It's level up time from there, right?
Yep.
So it's a great call out, Ollie. I mean, friend of the program.
Sure.
I've watched the USMNT playing the World Cup with Ollie right here, and I mean, he keeps putting up these performances. Look, he's gonna have to be someone that's in that mix soon enough, as well. I will tease my flowers on
tease those flowers
the other side of this break. And of course, a big shout out to our friends at Toyota right here, the official automotive partner of DNVR, the official car of driving in Colorado. What a great car for Colorado weather. Trucks and SUVs are part of their DNA, and they are the perfect machines to get lost in the mountains, take the family out on a nice little road trip. You know, that's the dream. Guys like us who didn't necessarily grow up out west, we all dreamed of, expansive spaces. Just get in your Toyota and get lost. Well, now you can. And they have so many environmentally friendly cars. Check them out. So many hybrid vehicles to choose from. The Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. And I told you all about their great trucks and SUVs. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Colorado Rapids and the official vehicle of DNVR. Toyota, let's go places. And speaking of official partners, how about our good friends at UC Health, the official kit partner of the Colorado Rapids, your Burgundy boys. It's a glorious thing. Look, the thing about UC Health, it's what we all kind of come into, you know, maybe producer Riley isn't quite at that point yet, but you're going to get to a point soon enough where you're like, man, I'm not really taking care of myself, and it is impacting my day-to-day. For me, it's sleep, it's dieting, it's trying to get some exercise so I'm not all riled up, and then I start to go on one of my rants in the podcast, like go on a run, get your riled upness out that way. Or as they say it, live life like there is a tomorrow. If you would like to live life like there is a tomorrow, learn about that and go to uchealth.org for more info. UC Health, Live Extraordinary, the official kit sponsor of your Colorado Rapids. Okay, back to giving out some flowers. You had a great one with Ollie. I'm going to go much more mainstream with Đorđe. Mile High Messi. He's had some real spectacular performances, and he's got me thinking, like, gosh, when's the last time I felt like this about an offensive playmaker in the Rapid system? And I love me some Gashi. I thought Diego was awesome. Shoot, I love me some Zardes. There's some good ones. I think
Cummings?
We're going back to Omar.
we're going back.
I think we're going back to Omar Cummings and winning the cup.
Yeah.
So that's 20 years ago. Yeah.
Gosh.
Damn straight. I mean,
well, it's not 2020, but
just about.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah. So it's
live life like there's a tomorrow, because that's how old I am.
Well, what a time to be
15
alive.
years,
that
that's
the
wild.
Rapids have a guy like this. And like that first goal, that is such a tough goal. Off the half volley, off the bounce like that, to just like throw his foot out and build all that momentum as you're on a full sprint, trying to insert yourself in the box. Just the reflexes, the class, the technique, the coordination to pull all that off at a crucial moment of the game. He's just world class, man. And what he can do from dead balls. Obviously he's just money on PKs. He's outstanding. He is something else. And yeah, how could you not give him the flowers? I just say, like, enjoy him while you can, because we're gonna get into some Zack Steffen stuff in USMNT, but this is another guy where it's like, look, Gio Reyna keeps putting out those stinkers. I thought Diego Luna played well, showed some dog. Diego Luna is not playing as well as Đorđe Mihailović in MLS. Shoot, few are right now. Few are playing as well as Đorđe. Give the man his flowers. Give him the respect he deserves. Start putting him in the mix for the USMNT, because that's how good this kid is. And just enjoy being able to turn the Pids on Saturday and watch your number 10, because he's something that gives me pride and true enjoyment when I put the Rapids on.
We're in a fun time right now as Rapids fans, because really pretty much forever, we're not a team that makes big splashes.
Yes.
We're not going to buy championships like the teams in LA. That's just not how our ownership group
100%.
works. It's a spoiled life in a lot of teams like that, where it's just like, that your owners are going to try to bail out your team by just buying a big name. Mm-hmm. So the Rapids have always been a scrappy, kind of gritty team that works with what they got. And I'm not saying what they got is bad, we've had some bad years, but the Rapids are always in the mix. Yeah, there's been some bad ones.
Facts is the kids like.
We've lived through it. We got through it. But to have a player like Đorđe, I feel lucky that we don't normally get a player that not just the rest of the league is paying attention to, but fans of the U.S. national team are starting to pay attention to as we try to figure out the mess at the national level,
Yeah, guys in commercials, when you're watching MLS games or you're catching highlights, it's so cool.
And it's not that it's his name, Đorđe Mihailović. It's that he's just a straight baller. Like, if you don't know his name, you're going to,
You're about to find out,
like
my
you're
friend.
about to find out.
Yeah.
Because the Rapids are in the effing around stage right now. And we're pulling in players like Đorđe Mihailović and Zack Steffen, that other teams didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, the positive spin on a F around find out situation is that Rapids were like, yeah, we'll F around with some of that. And now the rest of MLS are starting to find out, teams like Charlotte, who I'm guessing most MLS fans expected to come in and get a nice, easy win here in Colorado. And they found out because of Đorđe Mihailović.
They sure did, man. They sure did. And yeah, when you have guys like Wilfried Zaha on the pitch, Tim Ream on the pitch, Đorđe just looks like the best of them all. And we haven't even got, and some in the Toyota chat are talking about his passes and how he's just like the key playmaker and like point guard and architect. And we've talked in other podcasts how well that partnership with Hafa is working right now, Yep. I mean, so it's just, well put. Feel so lucky.
He's a true 10.
Yeah.
I mean,
no doubt.
It's just, if you know someone who is new to soccer, wants to learn, what's a 10.
Watch Đorđe.
Point to Đorđe.
Who you got next?
I mean, I'll go with the other obvious one.
Let's do
the
it.
big name is Đorđe. The other big name is Zack Steffen. Here's a guy that in the offside. Wow. Now here's a guy. I've never done that before. Here we go.
I love it.
Now here's a guy that in the off season, people were really looking at those numbers from last season saying Zack Steffen just isn't it.
Yeah.
Well, all of those haters can shut up now. Zack Steffen has been nothing short of one of the best goalkeepers in MLS. I would say, I think he's one of, if not the best goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team. We've not seen him play, which we'll get into.
The streets would agree with you.
But I think the streets would agree. He is being wasted on the bench at the national level. It's tragic that he's not getting starts there. I don't know why. I know he was sick for one game. I get it, but there's other games he should have been playing. As far as the Rapids are concerned, again, we are freaking lucky that we have Zack Steffen.
Yep.
And I think you go back to last year and you look at what a lot of the pundits and a lot of the national soccer minds and brains were saying was that, well, Zack Steffen's numbers were actually pretty crappy last year.
Mm-hmm.
The Rapids were getting cooked all the time on transition.
Yeah.
And defense is not a one person, it's not a goalkeeper, it's a defense. And so now you look at exactly what Chris Armas was talking about in the offseason about we need to be more aggressive. We need to be faster on defense, faster shutting down transitions, being more aggressive. And those things are starting to happen. And when that happens, you have a solid defense. When Cincinnati foolishly gives up Cheeto and Ian Murphy, which is just the craziest. I mean,
I still can't believe a million and Gam got that.
Robbery.
Yes.
What Porig did
was
just absolute freaking robbery.
Insane.
You bring in players like that. Maxu is getting back into form and looking like the old Maxu. When you have a defense that is working, is holding its shape, maintaining its shape, being aggressive, getting the ball back up to the offense so that the ball is not living down in our goal all of the time, then Zack Steffen can just be a goalkeeper. He doesn't have to play defense and goalkeeper. He can just be a goalkeeper. And hey, guess what? When you do the thing that you're trained to do, you can do it pretty well when you're not having to do everything else as well.
And he's just stealing goals right now, man.
Yes.
He's stealing goals. Like, I know people got on Baudry for the Timbers game. I don't want to get into the debate of what was and wasn't on him, but Steffen is just stealing goals that you should have no business expecting your goalkeeper to make those saves. He had another
He's
one
getting
on
highlight reels, man.
100%. He had one on Ajiman in that Charlotte game that was just incredible. He has put on just some spectacular performances, and is just lockdown. Paul Dolan was talking about it on the show with us, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or so, previewing the Earthquakes game, as Paul's a former Canadian goalkeeper for the Canadian national team. And he was talking about how his reflexes are just on fire right now, right? He's just catching everything. And it's like in a phone booth in short spaces, he's just on everything. You can't beat him from far away. Basically, your only chance is like that crazy half volley that the Quakes had on him, where it's like, oh, bounce, bang. And it's like literally no one could stop him, right? So that's the only way you get through it. And I mean, I think I said it on the last pod, but I don't think we've ever seen a run of form like this from a Rapids keeper. And that said, with all due respect and, you know, nothing but admiration for a lot of the great keepers from yesteryear for this club, but I covered that Tim Howard run to the Western Conference finals, right? And I don't think Tim was ever at this level, not for like 5 games in a row. Yarby's had his stretches. I don't think Yarby was ever at this level. It's just really special what we're seeing. And I think right now most would agree that he should be starting for the USMNT.
Yes,
and like to think
of course.
That this offseason would have been crazy to think, you know, like the 2 DPs they acquired in the 23 offseason in Đorđe and Zack are just out of this world right now, out of their minds. So, I mean, give the flowers to the front office, give the flowers to the defense, who's playing a lot better. Those would be my last flowers is, you know, just like Zack wasn't getting a lot of respect this offseason, neither was Maxu.
Yep.
I think Maxu, in his brief Rapids tenure, is showing when he's paired with like a pretty good central defender, like a Bombi, like a Cheeto, he does his thing and can actually lock it down. And I mean, Cheeto's just been transformative for this club on the defensive side of things. So there's just a lot of flowers to go around. I think it's been a pretty impressive start to the season.
Yeah, last flower I'll throw out, Chris Armas. I mean,
very good.
Here's a guy who, you know, again, nobody was high on. Last year turned the club around. Now in the offseason, everyone's wondering, well, the front office hasn't been making any big splashy moves, especially on the wings. The Rapids are, you know, the sophomore year of the Chris Armas tenure is going to go wrong. And what did Chris Armas do? He changed up the formation. He worked with the new players that came in and figured out what worked. And he's adjusting to every team that we're playing. You look at it against Charlotte, you know, he made adjustments there, and he punched him in the face, man. And maybe almost physically after the game. I don't know what words were being said.
But very calm while
Dean was not happy.
Heated,
and Chris, and it's like, you know, you watch it on TV on Apple TV, and you know, Dean came over and he was yelling at Armas, and it seemed like Armas was trying to be classy about it and was just kind of like trying to throw, you know, like de-escalate things, but Dean just kept pushing, and like you started to see a little bit of the fire come out. And I was like, bro, I don't think Chris Armas is a coach you want to go after. Like, I mean, I would be afraid of Chris Armas in that situation.
100%. 100%.
Anyway, Chris Armas, he's just, again, we're lucky to have him.
No doubt. No doubt. And again, a guy who's kind of shut up all the haters.
Yes.
Like all the analysis when that hire was first made was like, and yeah, he has turned this thing around. Mile High Hotspur on that point about Chris, talking a lot about the formational fluidity and different changes he's made even within this season. And I think that's been really impressive and really a testament to what Chris has done as a coach. Okay, it's time to get into some other stuff, USMNT, NWSL updates, and Do the Rapids have a Kevin problem? Kevin! We are going to get to all that in just a second. And a quick shout out to ourselves. Yes, DNVR. Check out all our events. We've got our latest golf tournament up. So there you go on the QR code right there, thednvr.com/events to find out all information. It's our Scramble de Mayo presented by Red Hawk Roofing. It's on May 2nd at City Park Golf Course, so not too far from here, the DNVR bar. It's always a blast. Those golf tournaments are always so much fun. Get to mingle with the community, get to mingle with our content creators, all our people. It's just a good time with fellow Denver sports fans.
It's super
out on
fun.
the links. Yeah.
I've never played a game of golf in my life, and I did one of the scrambles last year. Had a blast. I was terrible except for one shot.
There you go.
And it was just the most fun.
It really
You
is.
don't have to be like a big golfer guy
It
to
really
come out
is
to
an
a
awesome
DNVR golf throwdown.
100%. It's an awesome thing. And on events, you can get discounts on all our events at the DNVR bar on all our great merch, including this bad boy. By becoming a DNVR diehard, that also gives you access to all our exclusive content on the website. It gives you entrance to the Discord lounge, so much more. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention a free shirt when you sign up and a diehard membership card. It's an awesome deal. We're all diehard Denver sports fans who grew up here and kind of felt like there was a void for coverage outside of the Broncos, especially on everything I just told you, the event side, the merch side, the being able to talk all sports, right? Including the Rapids. So if that's something you believe in, if that's something you want to support, I urge you to become a diehard today. Check us out at ddnvr.com. Okay. I was thinking about this, Dwayne. And then I went to look at the stats. And in fact, 3 of the Pids' last 4 goals, that's the last 3 games, have all come after the 70th minute. So as alluded to, I am wondering, is there a Kevin problem? Because let's face it, the goals do seem to be coming when Kevin Cabral has been taken out of the lineup, and it's Calvin and Omir who have been inserted on the wings. And if so, is Omir the answer? Omir has yet to really play on that right side. Or is this just a team that grinds you and grinds you and grinds you, and then Wilfred Zaha gives up? That's a Đorđe Mihailović quote that he quit on the team after 60 minutes, which
call him out on it.
Nothing better than that. It's a problem we can all see. The solutions, I think, are far harder to find.
Yeah. I want to say it's a Rapids thing. It's a Denver sports thing of let's grind down the other team, and then we make a sub at the end. And while the other team is dealing with acclimating, to the elevation here, then we bring in fresh legs, and kind of beat them at the end.
Yeah.
Part of that has always been kind of the Rapids mentality.
Yes.
I'm not crazy about it. It's the opposite of how I like sports to be done.
A bit of a function of you don't have superstar wingers,
yes.
right? We're doing this more by committee, so it's your depth that comes through for you versus your headline
superstars.
Starters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. And so there's part of that argument, right? So that's one side of it. Well, that's Rapids soccer. We're going to grind you down and outlast you. But one of those games was not here. So it can't all be about that.
Yep. That's a good point.
But you have to look at, and I think what you say, it's such an important statement that you made to kick off this conversation of 3 of the last 4 goals. The Rapids don't score a ton of goals, so goals are precious. 3 of the last 4 have come after the 70th minute. Okay, well, what's the difference between before 70 minutes and after? And it's usually that sub.
Yeah.
And it's usually those wingers coming in. And we've seen instant changes when those wingers have come in, whether it's Omir coming in, who looks to be playing, just way better than last year.
Another guy, like, scrub your tweets about Omir from last year. Yeah.
And then, Calvin Harris, who's coming in and, is similar to last year. Like he's there and he's consistent, with trying to push the ball into the middle. So that to me is the big change. Like that's what looks the most different between pre-70 and post-70 is those Chris Armas subs coming in. I don't know what there's a lot of issues that could be in there. I'm not saying it's just Kevin Cabral. I don't know. Maybe the connection between Omir and Hoffa has always been strong, because you've got a language connection there. They get along in practice and off the pitch and everything. So there's some of that as well. But the glaring thing right now, it's just when you have to go for the common denominator between those things, it's Kevin Cabral, and you look at the stats. I mean, FOTMob stats, like Kevin Cabral through the first 6 games is the lowest rated Rapid, so it's not just like us. I mean, you're looking at the full, and given this is just 6 games in, but when you look at this sample size, the data is there, but also the subjective nature of just looking with your eyeballs and watching the game is there, so the 2 sets of data line up,
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Kevin started the season so hot with that Champions Cup performance where he really created all the chances. He is so dangerous running into space. His speed is so easy to see. It's just he lacks technical proficiency and just a lucid mind when it comes to making clear plays in the final third. Just doesn't seem to totally jive with any of his teammates up front. And I do wonder if KSB, if what we're looking for is merely speed up and down that right flank, could KSB be the option, right? As Kevin's alluding to here. And then I was seeing M. Wealth mentioning that, it'll be interesting once Cu Di Pietro comes back, because I think that will be crucial, right? And what's fun about Cu is he loves taking on guys. He loves dribbling, has a bit of a knack as a goal scorer. So I think that could fit. But yeah, right now it's not totally working. But I think if you're going to use Kevin, instead of just giving up on him altogether, because he's not so lucid in the final third, I don't know that he's the one you would want to replace from the starting lineup and then bring in those final 20 minutes.
Yeah, because that's usually when you need the most creativity to have something happen. And Cabral, like, we're up in the press box, right? So we see it at a different angle than most. Cabral, I mean, you can watch it on TV. Like, Cabral has a move, and he does it every time. He runs to the top corner of the box, and then he cuts back. And it's almost telegraphed. Like, you will hear Keith or somebody up, in the box will be like, and here's the cutback. As soon as he says it, he takes that little kickback, and then by then, that's allowed the rest of the defensive shape to form up. The back line is now there, and you get a Rapids versus Charlotte, which was 5,000 shots into the shins of Charlotte's back line, and Charlotte's back line was great. I mean, that it is understated how good they were. The score does not really show how good they were, losing by 2. But there's something to be said for some of that creativity has to happen a little bit sooner, versus letting the back line set up shop and then just kicking the ball hard into the legs, which happened a lot on Saturday.
Yep, for sure. So we'll keep monitoring it. Going to be a fun matchup against the Whitecaps, who are top of the Western Conference right now.
Yeah.
If only someone could have predicted that one, huh?
If only. It wasn't me.
It wasn't top. I didn't have them top of the West, so we'll see. But they are looking good. That's going to be really interesting. But before we get into next week of fixtures, let's talk some USMNT in a segment I decided to call Star Spangled Banter because I'm a genius. So yeah, everyone is not too pleased with the showing in Nations League.
Yep.
Turns out Panama, tough matchup for this team. Pids fans really getting on Matt Turner for not stopping that goal and maybe being a little bit out of position. Streets are saying Zack Steffen would have stopped that. And in general, a bit of a, anti-European sentiment where it's like, I thought this was supposed to be the most talented USMNT team ever. And what's this?
It's very milquetoast. We were talking this morning about the men's national team, and I feel like this team is playing with so little interest in soccer. Not every player. Diego Luna is when he gets minutes, is maybe the only guy. I mean, I know you've got your guy, and I'm going to let you talk him too. We'll save him for you. But it's, Diego Luna, and I hate to say it because he's an RSL guy, but at the country level, I can root for him. He's what seemed to be the only one that was interested in winning the soccer game. And I'm going to include the coach there. Coach doesn't seem very interested in that third place game, and only mildly interested in the game before that.
Yeah.
Versus Panama, based on you're down or you're not winning and you're suffering on offense and you don't make moves to help your offense put this one away. I think it's top to bottom on this team. And for me as a fan, like not as a guy who comes on a podcast and talks about the U.S. teams, like just as a fan, my interest in the team reflects the effort that's being put out by the players. And like right now, my interest is just kind of like, meh. Like it's not an interesting team. I don't feel like the effort that's being put out is worth me dropping what I'm doing to watch this team play on TV. Mm-hmm. I could hang out with my daughter, or we can go practice, her soccer season start. We can go outside and play soccer versus watching, and care about it more than watching guys on TV who really don't seem all that interested in soccer right now. That's my biggest thing right now. I know that that's a hot take, but like, that's who I am as a fan. And it's just, if I'm not getting the buy-in from the players, if they don't seem like they're really trying, why should I be all that excited and rearranging my schedule to watch this team play? There's not a lot of opportunities versus high-level international World Cup bound teams that the U.S. get to practice against, scrimmage against, which is what all these things are leading up to. It's all practice, it's all scrimmage, and you can't mail it in versus those teams. And Panama is a team that's hungry. They want to get in. Canada's obviously already in, but they've been turning heads lately, and that was good opportunities to work on your game. And I know we've got injuries, and we're better when Jedi's out there and all those things, but man, it's just, I don't know. It's very lukewarm to me.
Yeah, not the most impressive. Not necessarily living up to the hype. I think to me, the real strength of that Triple G team in the last World Cup was that 3-man midfield, right? Tyler Adams, Weston with Musa. Mm-hmm. And I think that's slowly been broken up, and guys are being tried in different spots. And I think you've lost a bit of that. I do have some concerns defensively. I'll be honest.
Sure,
I think the back five in general, starting with the goalkeeper, it is worth questioning. I think the rest is a bit overblown. you know, like this is what happens when you're the heavy favorite. You basically dominate the game the entire time, and you get those into the last 5 to 10 minutes of a game. Guess what? They score. You might not have a chance to like close that. It might just be over. Like it literally happened to Italy in the last qualifier for the World Cup. Was like team scored at the 94th minute. And guess what? Like done and dusted. You dominated the whole game. You were already thinking of extra time.
Now
over.
You're out. Yeah.
So that can happen. The celebration from Panama really pissed me off. And while I think the fan perspective's correct, exactly what you're saying, like it's hard to care when it looks like the players don't care. I think all the other discourse is very overblown. The old heads talking about they should be better than us and blah, blah, blah. Like Panama was never this good when you played them. Lalas, Dempsey, Herc, Donovan, all these guys throwing shade. Like you never accomplished anything in world soccer that these kids accomplished. And this is still the same group that got to the quarters 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's not, you know, just trying to just demolish their legacy. Like they haven't done anything. Again, they've already out accomplished your legacy. The reason we're upset they're not back-to-back Nations League champions is because they did that in the last Nations League. And I would remind you, I think this is a team that has kind of being the scrappy underdog and like we play hard, but we're lacking a bit of like technical ability. That's been put to the side to where this is a real like national team with real guys. It's a weird time to play these Nations Leagues. I think even in the European Nations League, we saw some surprising results, some surprising upsets, especially in the first legs. And it's just a weird point in the season for all these guys playing over in Europe. And so maybe Poach needs to experiment a little more with more MLS heavy lineups when you are playing in March, you know, because those guys are just ramping up. And maybe the Diego Lunas and Ajiman, there's a reason they were some of the better guys because they actually are in the best form and they're not worn out by already having been playing for the last 8 months and being in the heart of these like relegation and races to get into Europa League and Champions League in their domestic leagues. So maybe use that to your advantage. Still figuring it out. We must not forget, like Sargent hit a post and had a goal scored that was offside in the build-up. I don't know how you guys were watching, but I still haven't seen a good replay of where Timmy Weah was offsides on that cross to start that all off. So the overreactions piss me off a little, but I also get it. Like I think it's reasonable to have some disappointment. It's not what you want to see, and Poach has got a lot to figure out.
Totally.
It's also like, yeah, welcome to the fight. Like this is what competing at the international level in a truly global sport is like. Like you think you're the only ones who have the best players we've ever had. Like, yeah, that's true for like 50 national teams right now, including Panama, including Norway, including Switzerland. You think you're the only like country with a massive population who can just throw money at a soccer federation? Like China tried this years ago. You know, Russia tried this 15 years ago. Get a big name European coach. Like, yeah, like Saudi's doing that. Like it's welcome to the global arms race of trying to be one of the best soccer teams in the entire world. And yeah, it's hard.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask you to bring it up. We had this conversation yesterday, and I think that's a really, really important point to remember, like managing expectations as a U.S. men's national team fan is that, you know, we don't get to desperately hang on to the narrative of, you know, we're the scrappy kid and no one likes us or respects us, you know, that's always been our, calling card. It's always been our cop out when things don't work out. It's like, well, we tried and we're scrappy and gosh darn it.
Yes, 100%.
We don't get that anymore. Like that gift is gone.
Kiss it goodbye.
Yeah, it's just we're on the national stage now. We're going to be hosting the World Cup. And like you said, Dre, like we are not the only team that's developing a heralded group of young men to play the game.
Right.
Every country is trying out their best players. And most of those teams, Panama included, this is probably the best their team has ever been in the history of their country. And so they are going through the same thing as we are going through. It's not like the woe is me that we get to own that. You know, like everyone is going through these growing pains. The challenge now for the United States is that we're no longer the forgotten about, you know, also ran kind of club. Like there are expectations now, you know, and that needs to filter over as a fan, you know, like there are other like this isn't unique to us. Like you said, every country has already been doing these things. We're just doing it right now. Sports are often not fun. And this
honestly,
is the part
that's why we get so much joy that like 4 times in our life that things actually work out.
Yes.
Because the rest of our lives has been nothing but suffering and disappointment, underwhelmment, anger.
Yeah.
That's what makes it great.
That's sports, baby.
Yeah.
Like that's what's fun about it. And
that's why
that's what we're in right now is all of these questions, you know.
Yeah.
You've got the return of Jedi, you've got the return of Dest, you know, you've got players who will come back. In the meantime, you've got up and coming players.
Also, the lack of like outside backs.
Yes.
Like
There's no
A-Rob
fullbacks.
is the
Like,
most
yeah.
essential player, and
Yes.
like the key most important American in the world right now, A-Rob.
Yes. And you know, Adams is holding it down, consistent, and he's always one of the cornerstones.
Yeah. That guy's
This is
got
where
that
we
dog.
are right now. There's just a lot of question marks. I've got question marks and concerns with, you know, Pochettino and players themselves, and what the hell with Gio Reyna, and is he just a jerk and nobody wants to play him, or what's going on with that? Because I know I've watched him play. He's got skills, but he doesn't get any minutes, and what's going on with that? I don't know because I'm not in the locker room. But it's irritating, and hopefully some of this is irritating them as well. And this is a nice wake-up call to kind of get embarrassed. You know, and people are calling them out, whether it's the old heads, which I kind of feel the same way as you do. I'm not really all that concerned about how they feel about this. Like, your time's done.
100%.
Like,
100%.
You know, or it's the fans, but hopefully they're starting to hear some of this chirping from, you know, around the US, but also, you know, globally, that it's not getting done. We need to show a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Johnny Cardoso, definitely another guy that's missing. And just as a fun fact, the Chicago Fire are 4th in the Eastern Conference when no one expected it. So the Triple G, shout out to you.
That has been a dumpster fire for you. No one has taken more of a beating from me personally than Chicago Fire.
Yeah, the Chicago dumpster fire. Yes, that's,
awful. Awful.
Yep.
Top to bottom, and look at them. They're looking pretty good.
Yep, 100%. Okay.
Yeah, USA.
NWSL. Yeah, USA.
That's what an eagle really sounds like. Just if you didn't know that.
Facts.
This concludes the nature segment of the show.
So does.
We'll move into
latest on the NWSL front. Yes.
The latest and greatest. Denver NWSL ownership group announced last week. We tweeted about it to give you a lot of the stats and details about it. If you want to get into the nitty gritty, jump on Twitter and Blue Sky on that. But I mean, this ownership delivers every time we ask them a question it was when they officially launched the team, well, what's the stadium plans? We're still working on that. We think we'll know within 3 months. It wasn't anywhere close to 3 months. They already announced the stadium. At the stadium presser, I asked, Rob Cohen, hey, what's the temporary situation looking like? How far have you developed that? He said, we're hoping to know in about 2 weeks. Almost to the day. 2 weeks. It's announced. Last week, they announced that a temporary stadium will be built alongside the official training facilities over in Dove Valley. So if you're familiar with where the Broncos, if you've ever been to training camp and watched the Broncos, it's right across the street. So they're going to be building this massive complex that is, top of the line. If you looked into those details that Denver NWSL put out, and then we put out on Twitter and Blue Sky, this facility is engineered and built by women for women pro athletes. It is really dialed into creating a state-of-the-art facility that other players are going to want to come to and train at. It's impressive. When you look at the training facilities, you look at even, smaller things like dining facilities and family areas for the players, the film rooms, the 8 fields that are going to be there for training. And then you look at the fact, and this is what just, again, I've said this multiple times, this ownership group is not effing around with this club. Rather than go into and try to squeeze into Dick's Sporting Goods Park and just kind of abandon your brand and your logo and everything and be surrounded by, burgundy and blue, or going to DU or going to Mile High and being surrounded by orange and blue and Broncos stuff, just kind of sort of pushing your brand, your culture, your team into someone else's house and pretending like it's yours for 90 minutes. They just said, screw it. Not only are we going to build a new stadium, we're going to build a temporary stadium, and it's going to house 12,000 people. That is freaking crazy. Yeah. I don't know if sports fans understand how bananas that truly is.
They have come extremely correct.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's just it's a feel out process, and so far they are just checking off box after box after box. You can tell that the commitment is there off the bat, and
it's wild.
Man, it's been really impressive to see how they're moving and to see how they're just not messing around.
So next big announcement will be the name. So we haven't heard anything on that. We don't know if they're reaching out to some of these suggestions or if they're sticking with the 6 that they did the vote on. I wish we could give you more on that. We don't know, but that'll be the next big announcement. And after that, it's going to be a sprint to 2026 to get this team up and running, and player signings and everything else.
I know. No NWSL draft. That's been abolished. So that's sad. I don't get to follow that. Also, fun fact about Ajiman, 12th overall pick of the 2023 MLS draft. Also, people criticizing him for getting playing time because he's the D3 guy. We should take so much pride that we're the only country in the world that can have a guy that was playing D3 a couple years ago, and he can move up the ranks, has a system and a league that will take advantage of his talent, and now he's one of the best in MLS, and he gets to start and get shots on target for the U.S. national team, and he is definitely not the reason they lost. So come correct, show your respect. 12th overall pick, though, traded to Charlotte from the Rapids.
Yep.
100,000 in GAM and a future 24 pick. Guess what they did with that 24 pick? Traded that. More GAM, please. RBNY. Hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, the draft.
Guess what player Andre's big on?
Yeah, Patrick Ajiman.
He's a believer.
I love that kid. I love that story. And he's 6'3". He's a good forward. He's a strong forward. Way more dangerous than Wilfred Zaha. Like Wilfred Zaha, we are going to disappear here because this was just a beautiful show. Thank you so much, Dwayne. Thank you so much, Riley. We will be back not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that. Check out our Twitter feed and Blue Sky and our audio feed for our podcast that we're doing midweek. What do we say in these cases, Dwayne?
Say it every time, baby. It's up
the
Pids.
Let's go.
We all silly like the mayor.